analysis, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, with us on the broadcast. Major Shah, if I can begin by asking you, sir, where do you see now the next practical steps of this, war, basically reaching some sort of a conclusion, or what are the next practical steps here?
Devika, until last evening, Indian Standard Time, we were expecting that perhaps in the next 24 hours, Russia would be able to take over Kyiv. And once they take over Kyiv, they will put their own government. That's a different thing. But the golden question is, despite them, whenever, be it in the next 24 hours or next 12 hours or the next 1 week or whatever, so whenever they do take over Kyiv, which they will ultimately, will the war end? That is the golden question. I don't see it happening in the next 10 days at least, or a week at least. Because this kind of a military action, so to say, by Russia, or the war, which we all know it as, is going to continue. And we saw a couple of days back, President Vladimir Zelensky coming and saying that he is not interested in NATO anymore. And imagine had he given that statement about 2 weeks back, then perhaps this wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, I would say that does not give the right to Russia to invade the sovereignty, integrity and democracy of a democratic nation. The moment they attacked, the moment they became the aggressor, they were wrong. And all the sympathies that people had towards Russia at that time, the moment they attacked, they said earlier that Russia is being provoked in a very big manner, no doubt. And I still maintain that they were provoked, but yet that does not give them any justification to do what they did on 24th February. Now, where do I see it moving forward, Devika? A small, simple throw in the water, in the pond or in the lake or the river can actually lead to a tsunami. A simple spark can lead to a forest fire. A simple war between two countries can actually result in a world war. Let me take you back to the First World War. What happened in the First World War? On 28th June 1914, one assassination of the heir to the Austria-Hungary Empire in Bosnia by a Serbian nationalist, and thereafter attacking Serbia after a month, and thereafter other countries joined in, much to the dismay of they did not want to join in the World War. America, President Woodrow Wilson had decided that he will not enter the World War at any cost, no matter what happens.
Right.
1914, 1915, 1916, and 1917. 15, 16, 17, 18. Actually, 15th was a warning. 16, 17, 18 March, where the German ships had surrounded Britain with an aim to choke Britain so that no supplies go in there. They had, with the U-boats and the submarines, they sank 3 US ships, which resulted in America declaring a war on Germany, and it became bigger. You take the presence of the Second World War, Devika. On 1st September 1939, Germany attacks Poland, and other countries join in. So look at the presidents, and both the times they were, so it can really become, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm just being realistic. Let's hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, because this is definitely going to hit the world economy. There's no doubt about that.
And definitely, Major Ali Shah, I request you to stay on with us and just hold that thought, because some breaking news coming in. We have updates. Ukraine says that Russian forces have killed 7 civilians in an evacuation convoy. Ukraine has accused Russian forces on Saturday of killing 7 civilians in an attack on women and children who were trying to flee from near Kiev. And France, meanwhile, has said that Russian President Vladimir Putin has shown that he is not ready to make peace. So these are the latest developments that are coming in. Major Ali Shah, as we were talking, and as you were also shedding some light on history, it's clear that no lessons have been learned whatsoever from what's happened in the past. The civilian casualties continue to, rise, unfortunately, in this entire massacre that's happening, basically, in Ukraine.
Absolutely, Devika.
Several statements, Major Ali Shah, unfortunately, are coming in a very belated fashion, as you were also pointing out, that certain statements and certain realizations could have been made a long time ago. Now that we have reached past a point where, you know, we can't turn the clocks around, what is it that we need to do immediately for this crisis to end? Because, as I said, the civilians are the ones who end up suffering. It's the common man that suffers the most in war.
You are bang on over there, Devika, 100% right. You know, at the end of the war, a mother waits for her son, a father waits for his son, a brother waits for his brother, a sister waits for her brother, a friend waits for a friend. It is the soldiers who die and the politicians who shake hands. So war is not a solution for anything. In fact, it is the worst thing which can ever happen in humanity. This is going to be the worst humanitarian crisis ever, the first refugee crisis ever. Already, over 25 lakh people have left Ukraine. And look at the pattern, Devika. Where have they gone? They've gone to neighboring countries, to Romania, Poland, to Belarus, to Russia, to neighboring places where they found they could be safe. Well, we have been successful. We have been successful with Operation Ganga and getting our students back home. More or less, almost everyone so far, almost. But now, if you see the pattern, there's war happening in Syria. There's war happening in Iran. There's war happening in Iran is at war with America, for that matter. North Korea is at war with America. China does not get along with its neighbors. With us, of course, they are misbehaving with us on the entire 3,844 kilometer stretch of line of actual control. China is behaving with Taiwan. China is misbehaving with Philippines, with Malaysia, with all the neighbors for that matter. So, if you see, there is trouble happening all over the world, and it would take one small spark if it's not nipped right now, because it is about time. The entire world community should come forward like the way India is, playing a very good peace broker. Though President Vladimir Zelensky agreed to have peace talks in Israel, and he asked the Israeli Prime Minister that why you must do the mediation, and which Israel could play an important role, yes. See, at the end of the day, President Vladimir Zelensky is a Jew, and he would feel more secure in Israel. But that does not mean that here the Jewish affiliations would actually come into play. It would be everyone's national sentiments first. Peace has to be called out at any cost. What America is doing, they are putting sanction after sanction in Russia. Do you think it will make any difference to Russia? It will not. And it is not making any difference to Russia at all. China, on the other hand, is benefiting from the war.
Absolutely.
They're growing in economy. America is benefiting from it. And if you see the arms trade, the arms business, who would want the war to continue? It is the US which is also going to be benefiting from it. So most certainly it should be called out straight away by the entire world community. And earlier we were analyzing that, okay, President Vladimir Putin, if you put in some pressure on him, or President Zelensky. But let me tell you, it is all a proxy war between America and Russia. So America has made use of Ukraine in a very intelligent manner. But at the end of the day, Russia ended up playing the game better than America for that matter, because they very wisely used the Article 7 of the UNO Act, where President Zelensky or President Putin on 21st February, he declared the two areas in the east of Ukraine, the Donbas areas, Luhansk and Donetsk, as independent states. Thereafter, he sent his peacekeeping forces over there, and on 24th, he attacked Ukraine. Again, a pattern if you go back to 2008, what he did with Georgia, 2014, what he did with Crimea. And then thereafter, he put up very unreasonable demands, actually, President Putin, where President Zelensky said he is willing to forego the membership of NATO. He's not interested anymore. He said we can talk about it, about giving recognition to the two Donbas areas. We can talk about it. But then it was unreasonable to say that he wanted recognition of Crimea. Crimea, let it be it's something like, for example, for everyone to understand. It's like we giving up POK and saying, oh, we would not give up. We would not give up POK. No, we will get it back, and we are very certain. Being an army man, I am saying,
right,
we will get back POK. Similarly, it will be a little unfair, unreasonable for any nation to say that you give up your sovereignty, your territory, your integrity, your democracy. So nobody would do that. And at the end of the day, again, I see that Ukrainians who are fighting, I salute their spirit, there's no doubt, their fighting spirit. But was it wise to give weapons to civilians? Because now what will happen? Every single person in Ukraine would become a rebel, so to say. would like what happened
Right.
on the example of Afghanistan. Afghanistan, at least there were a lot of civilians. There was a large chunk of civilian population. Not everybody was a Talibani in Afghanistan. But here in Ukraine, it's 100%. Everyone becomes a rebel. So whenever Russia is bound to take over Kyiv, and Russia will win the battles, there's no doubt about it, but they will lose the war. They might take over Kyiv, but in the longer run, they will drown. It's the beginning of the end for Russia. And they will take Ukraine along. They will take the entire world along. The entire world economy is going to suffer, there's no doubt.
All right, Major Ali Shah, I request you to hold that thought 1 second. I have to address some other news that's also coming in. Ukraine has evacuated 13,000 civilians through humanitarian corridors on the 12th of March, twice as much as the day before. So coming back to what we were discussing, Major Ali Shah, what does this mean, for the future of Ukraine? We're talking about an entire country which is witnessing at this point in time huge, large chunks of its population, at least, women and children at this point, who are being evacuated. There is mass, scale devastation that's taken place in Ukraine. It will be a couple of years before Ukraine also finds its balance and perhaps some of the people come back, but most people who've left may just find their roots in countries abroad. So what does this broadly mean for even the future of Ukraine? And what does Russia then have to gain now that Ukraine is sort of saying that, okay, we don't think NATO will work out for us, because clearly they didn't stand with us in a time of crisis as much as we had hoped. So we've had this realization, we don't think NATO is for us. Now where do we go from here? What is the future from here?
Oh, very good question, Devika. See, I read somewhere that if Russia stops fighting, they will lose the war. If Ukraine stops fighting, they will lose Ukraine. There would not be any more Ukraine left. But I disagree somewhere there, because if Ukraine stops fighting, at the end of the day, they would just maximum be a change of government. That's a different thing. It would be a dummy government, but not to say the least. Even President Zelensky was actually a puppet in a way, going by what NATO, what US was telling him to do, without them being a member of NATO. So you cannot be taken for a bigger ride than this. I don't see anything. And then dumping Ukraine completely high and dry and let them fend for themselves. A couple of days back when Poland offered that they will send their MiG-29s. But then America said, no, you do it your own way, don't do it through us. It's up to you. So America would prod others to fight a proxy war on their behalf. America has done that in Afghanistan. America, they messed up Libya. They executed President Gaddafi, General Gaddafi. They executed Saddam Hussein in Iraq. They've done it in Vietnam. They've done it in Korea. They have done it in various countries. They have done it in 86 countries out of all the countries which are recognized by UN. They've got 86 countries. US has done that. So nothing new that US has been doing. It is only a lesson home that unless and until you stand on your own feet, nobody will come for your rescue. And Ukraine was depending on a trump card like US would probably come for the rescue, and that is the reason, again, they've managed to hold on to and sustain it for so long. And one more thing goes to play. It was being said that the Chinese tires were there for the vehicle, the 64-kilometer long convoy, and the Chinese tires were giving way. Let me tell you, the winters were there. So general winter, general frost, snow, that is something which has been in Russia's favor all the while. But it was wrong time because of the melting snow in that region. The tires, especially the tank, the armored vehicles, they would slip. It was a very, and secondly, the coronavirus. And the world economy was down. So it was a very, very wrong time to actually go ahead and attack a country. But if you think logically, UN has told Russia that they have attacked 26 hospitals and healthcare centers. And which is wrong. I mean, no professional army will go ahead and attack any civilian. But the moment you give arms to a civilian and a civilian fires at a tank, it is but natural. What do you expect the tank to do? The tank will go ahead and it will retaliate to save itself. So it was firstly, it took us years of training to get comfortable with a weapon. It's not like you give a weapon or a sniper. You need two people to fire a sniper. Many people do not know that.
Right.
One is a spotter, other the firer. And there are a lot of calculation, a lot of technicalities involved. So you cannot really learn firing a sniper in one single day. impossible. For a soldier, it is impossible. For an untrained person, civilian, it's even more impossible. And at the other hand, Russia has accused Ukraine of developing biological weapons and chemical weapons on the soil. With
Absolutely.
The aid of America.
Major Ali Shah, it's of course, it's taking, as you've also pointed out, several factors, taking a very bizarre turn.